Thank you for being here tonight. I know there's a football meeting also taking place that just ended, so I know we'll have some people joining us from that. But this is our third one of these to do, and you're going to hear from two guys, one that's on staff and one that leads an after-school extracurricular. Both were on staff with Christ Fellowship and worked in the youth ministry there, so super qualified. I have 3 kids, and you know, they want on screens as much as possible. So we try to look at best practices, and I've leaned on these guys. I know Brandon gave this talk 2 years ago, and it was excellent. We're filming it for those that can't be here tonight. I know night meetings with kids are always difficult, but you're going to get some really practical stuff. We've had the speaker that has come and has given the no screen approach, which is really not feasible for most families. So this is some ideas with balance and moderation, how to ease your kiddos into it, which is really a fit for the majority of the families as well. So I'm going to open us in prayer, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Marlowe, who taught 6th grade for 2 years for us, and then he is now teaching in the middle school and maybe a high school class or 2. And then Pastor Stewart, the video game pastor, he leads an after-school club here at our school and other schools, doing Minecraft and some different things with the kiddos, and that's been popular. So he'll talk about how you can use video games for good. So I'll open in prayer. Thank you for being here tonight. Dear God, I thank you so much for this day. I thank you for these parents, Lord, that are dedicated to their children and just dedicated to providing resources for them to engage with others, to have fun, Lord. And I pray that we would learn just best practices and good approaches to that. I pray you'd give us wisdom and courage as parents to make the right decisions for our kids. We pray tonight this conversation would honor you. We pray all these things in your name. Amen. Mr. Marlowe.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Appreciate it. Again, my name is Brandon Marlowe. I'm so excited to have you guys here tonight, and thank you for being here. It's truly an honor to be at the school teaching where I was a student. So just know the investment that you're paying off now will pay dividends later. So I know they're going to fight and scream on the way here. Oh, we got to go to school. But they'll see the impact and investment that will make later in life. And Allison Cruz, Mrs. Cruz, she's done such a great job of setting us all up and sending out emails and getting us set up for success. She shepherds and loves our kids so well. I know when I was in 6th grade and I would have a middle school girl just crying in my classroom, I'm like, get over it. Like, why are you crying? And then she'd come over and hug her and pray with her and tell her how much Jesus loves her. And I'm just like, get over it. Like, suck it up, get tough, let's go. So she just does a great job of shepherding our students. But I did want to show you, just give you a little bit about me. This is me and my sister, our first day at school at King's way back in the day at the old campus by the airport. So actual photo evidence of that. And I got to go here for 10 years. It was truly a blessing and the sacrifices my parents made for that. And then I was working at Chick-fil-A for 5 years, great organization to work with. Was one of the youngest managers in the company there. And then switched over to Christ Fellowship Church, several different campuses, and mostly working with middle school, high school, college students. And before COVID, was one of the largest youth ministries in the country. So kind of on the leading edge here. And the most unchurched region in the country is right here in Palm Beach County. So really enjoy getting to work with parents to help give you the tools and practicality so that you can make the impact on your student that you have. Because the world is changing, and it's changing really fast. And there's a lot of good out there, good changes, and there's a lot of crazy changes going on. So we want to navigate some of the good, some of the crazy, and just get a good feel of where we're at. Because it can feel like we live in a world where we're constantly connected, but no one is connecting. We're throwing, lots of things on social media. We're seeing lots of things on the internet. We're now seeing the rise of AI and ChatGPT and some of the things that are now coming out that are really going to revolutionize and change how we do life. And so it's hard to keep up. So this is an opportunity for us to learn and kind of get some guidelines for this. It's funny because I don't know if you have older students who are learning to drive yet, but when it comes to technology, it's like that. And I was talking with one parent a couple of years ago when we did this talk, And the father was like, well, I don't need this for my girls because they don't have a phone or technology. And I said, well, just because they don't have car keys doesn't mean they can't get into an accident. And he thought about that for a second and walked away. So it's really important. So no matter where your child is in their stage of life, whether they have a phone, whether they don't, whether they're playing video games, whether they're not, whether you're like, I'm not sure what they should have, or they speak another language when they're talking about some of the apps and technology that they're using, we're here to help guide you in that way. And I want to be first and foremost just say, I am not here to condemn any parent. I'm not here to put or shame any parent down. The fact that you are here tonight, your child is well fed, they have a house over their head, shows me that you're a great parent already. Especially in my work in ministry, what we did at the church for 10 years and seeing some of the just horrendous stories of what has gone on to some of the kids that we get to help love on and minister to. The fact that you're here is vital. So thank you for being here, and even those watching the later broadcasts online or on YouTube for that. So not here to condemn anybody at all, but I want you to know that the tablet is the new pacifier, the baby monitor is the new babysitter, Netflix is the new playground, Fortnite is the new pickup baseball game, YouTube is the new TV, and TikTok is the new shopping mall. A lot is changing over our last couple of years. I don't know if you ever, back in the day when you have to go on MapQuest and print the directions. Do you remember doing that? And if, heaven forbid you missed a street that you were supposed to turn on. It was like World War III in the car of where you're supposed to go and where you're supposed to turn. The students that are growing up now will not know a world without that. So we want to give you some tools and practicality of what it's going to be like, because they're going to have technology from the womb all the way up to older in life to know how to deal with it. I want to share some headlines with you that have happened recently, some here locally in our community and some around the nation, just so that you can see what some of the influence technology and these apps can have on young people and students and why this is so important for us. This just happened a couple days ago. A 13-year-old Ohio boy dies after attempting TikTok Benadryl challenge, his parents say. So the challenge was to take about a dozen Benadryl at one time, and it induces hallucinations. He saw that on a TikTok post on his page. He tried it at home, passed away. They could not resuscitate him after that. 13 years old, just a heartbreaking story. Here locally in Martin County, teen arrested after posting Snapchat threat to shoot up Martin County High School. 17-year-old suspect says it was just a prank. Obviously, you can't do that in this day and age. A 13-year-old was also charged, and the DA up there wanted to make it a felony adult charge for both of those students to send a message to the rest of families out there. So this is real world. The next one I'm going to show you is an actual Snapchat from a student either at Dwyer or Jupiter High School. So right here in Palm Beach County, they were able to see this. The students who actually saw it reported it to their parents. The parents were able to get help, and the situation was resolved in about 60 minutes through working with the local sheriff's office there and families. But this is an actual Snapchat from his phone that he sent out on his friend page to other students. I'm tired of getting bullied. I'm tired of being harassed. Tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. at JCS, the Jupiter High School, I'm going to release gunfire. Any students I see, I plan on shooting 20 kids, 4 admins. See you in heaven. So this isn't happening somewhere out there. This isn't just happening in the big cities of New York and California. This is happening here locally in Palm Beach County and with your student. Now, we read these stories and we hear this thing and it's like, all right, I'm throwing all my phones into a blender, becoming Amish, and we're never going to have electricity again. Well, not always practical in our day and age of what we need to do. So just to give a little context of where we're at, these are the different generations, the different labels on there from sociologists. Now, I won't make anyone self-identify what category they're in. But basically tonight, what we're going to be talking about is Gen Z. We have a ton of data on Gen Z. They don't know a world without 9/11. They don't know a world without mass shootings. And then the new generation coming up, Alpha, which maybe some of you have in this room, would be about 8 years old. 2015 onwards, they won't know a pre-COVID world. They won't know a day without having a device or a screen. And so we're just getting some of the early data on Alpha, this generation coming up, but they're still very young. These generations will never experience going to a Walmart and buying minutes for their phone. You remember doing that? And I know I had like that Nokia indestructible phone. Like you could drop it in the toilet, you could run it over, set it on fire, and you would have to buy like 30-minute increments at a time. And my mom and dad were like, you only call us if your sister is in danger, okay? I was like, what about me? Only if your sister's in danger, right? And it was like 50 cents a minute, and you could not use it for friends or for anybody at all. They won't know a world without that. But Generation Alpha, and I know some of you are parents of Generation Alpha in here, here's some early statistics and information about them. They will be the most educated generation ever. They will be the most technologically immersed generation ever. They will be the most material endowed generation ever. They will be the most impatient generation ever. Remember setting your VCR to like record American Idol or Survivor back in the day? They don't have to do that. They can watch the whole season of Outer Banks on Netflix all the way through and binge watch till 4 o'clock in the morning, right? They will be the most self-directed generation ever. They will be a generation who experience more virtual relationships. That even sounds weird to say. Siri, Alexa, ChatGPT. We see Google is now naming their AI. So it's just become a common household name. They will be the most likely generation to spend their childhood without both of their biological parents. So the data on here is going to be really interesting, especially post-COVID, what it's done. So just to give you a little snapshot of where we're at. So here's some statistics. So I want to do two things tonight. I want to give you some information, but I also want to give you some practicality. Because sometimes a speaker come up and give great information, but it's like giving you a car with no steering wheel. And that can be difficult. So I want to try to do both tonight. Here's from Barna Research. They do some great research on Generation Z and Alpha. They're on the leading edge of some things. A couple of things I want to highlight for you when they're interviewing Generation Z, specifically towards middle school students, upper elementary students. 80% of them would say they would rather talk to their friends in person than text. 70% would rather spend time with their family than spend time online. 57% would rather take a walk with one of their family members than to be in front of a screen. That shocked me when I saw it. Because all they communicate is what? They want to be in front of this all day. And if you take this away, it's like taking an arm or a leg away from them, almost. It becomes their whole being. But this is what this tells me, and I saw it firsthand on one of our retreats. We went with the, I don't know, 7th or 8th grade retreats. We took them to a campsite for a couple days here with Kings. We took their phones away on the bus, and they whined and screamed and complained and all this stuff. And we got there, they started to play. They started to hang out with their friends. They started to do activities. They started just being kids. And one of them, I will never forget this. The next day, she's been 24 hours without her phone. She's like, Mr. Marlowe, I really enjoyed this time that I didn't have to have my phone. And I just got to talk to my friends. And then she said this, I'm almost passed out after she said this. She said, I wish my parents would take it away from me sometime so I get to experience this. Isn't that crazy? This is coming from a middle school student. And I'm like, well, what if you just put your phone away at home? Oh, I can't do that, Mr. Marlowe. That's crazy talk. What are you talking about? They know they're addicted, but they don't know how to get out of it. Here's some more statistics for you. And I'm going to be sharing this with you so you have it as well, this whole PowerPoint presentation. In what ways does technology make your life more difficult? 54% says it wastes time. 53% says it helps them procrastinate or put off homework. 1 in 4 feel anxious without their phone. like a body part is cut off. Over 20% have been bullied online. 16% have seen inappropriate pictures. Again, this is from the leading edge of Barna for mostly Generation Z. Alpha generation is probably going to spend more time in front of a screen, especially with COVID and all the things that have happened in our world over the last couple of years. So the average time a U.S. teen spends is 7 hours a day online. 7 hours a day in front of this. They don't know a world without it. And if you took it away, it would be taking away their world. They wouldn't know how to get places. I know 16-year-olds who are starting to drive. They drive from here to school and that's it. And they Google map it every day. Because they don't know how to navigate the street. They're like, I don't know the road names. I couldn't know how to get home if it wasn't for Google Maps. I'm like, how? Did you brush your teeth? Like, did you eat breakfast? Like, are you okay? But they don't know this world without it. So as a parent, and as you're looking after this kids, it can kind of feel like this. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, how do I parent? How do I put some practical guidelines in there? I love this quote from Kevin Kelly. It says, smart technology advances so quickly, it outpaces our ability to civilize it. In fact, recently, 1,000 tech industry leaders, including one of the founders of Apple, signed a petition to Congress to say, we need to slow down AI because it's going way too fast and we're not sure what the consequences are going to be with this. We need to slow it down. 1,000 tech leaders said that, including Elon Musk is on there as well. I know he's made some headlines over the past couple of years. So it's really interesting to see some of the data. So here's what I would encourage you. Intentional about high tech. It's a good thing. There are tools that are helping us, but also be intentionally highly human. High tech, but high human. And Generation Alpha and Generation Z are going to suffer the consequences of the school closures and what happened with COVID. And we need to reteach them how to be a human being, how to be in a group and not be on their phone, because it might be a little awkward to make small chat with somebody next to them, but this is their safety net in that way. So here are the top 3 apps that teens are using right now. TikTok over there on the left-hand side, YouTube in the middle, and Snapchat. I saw this firsthand. We went on our Philadelphia trip with our 8th grade students, and I had a group of 12 I was in charge of. So I got their numbers, put them in a group chat just so they can know where everything is and where we're going and all that. And anything happened, they could contact me. I sent 3 text messages to that group chat that said, you need to be at breakfast at this time, and you need to bring this clothing with you, and you need to bring this. 7:30 rolls around, 7:45 a.m. I'm missing half of the group. So I'm going back up, going to the floor, knocking on the, and they're all asleep. And they're like, Mr. Marlowe, you never told us. I said, I texted you 3 times. They said, you didn't Snapchat us. And I'm like, why would I Snapchat you? I texted you. It goes right to your phone. Well, we don't text, Mr. Marlowe. We don't text. We do everything through Snapchat. It's crazy to think that way. And I look at their phone and there's 143 missed messages. And I'm like, give me your phone. Let me see that. And it's like Mom, Dad, Mr. Marlowe, and a whole bunch of other people with important information, right? And so they're using these apps for everything. TikTok, when I gave this talk last time, had just surpassed YouTube in the number of minutes watched by young people. TikTok, their algorithm and what they're doing is overtaking every social media site. And there's 2 sides of this story of spin, but Washington is coming out and saying we may need to ban TikTok for some reasons, and I'm not here to make a political statement, but part of the reason that is because Google and Facebook and these other tech industries are lobbying for it because they're losing money because TikTok is so successful with it. It's short attention spans. The app is totally different in China. It's all STEM related, science, technology, education. It's not like I'm going to see a guy build a milk crate pyramid and topple himself all over it. Like, that's hilarious, but it's not all videos on that, right? And so what I want to do is just provide some context for these apps to help you give some practical advice, what these apps are, and kind of give you just step-by-step instruction, okay? Everybody with me so far? We good? All right. So here are some of the concerns that are going on with these apps. And this is really for any app. I know Be Real has really taken off lately. There's always going to be a new and latest app that comes out, but here are some of the concerns. Sharing personal information, pornography, sexting, identity, mental health, and extortion. There are some really sad cases of all of these happening out that I want to show out and play for you. But I want you to see how this is actually happening within the apps, even through parent controls, even through the filters you can put in your internet. I was talking to one of my seniors who is grounded at the time and does not have her phone. She has a boy that she likes at another school. So she doesn't have a phone. She can't text this boy that she really likes. So she goes online and makes a Microsoft Word document with her school account. I need it for homework. So she's on the computer with her Word document and she shares it with the boy that she likes. And they're texting through the Word document. That's so smart. I'm like, you should get an award. How'd you do? Like, I couldn't even think of that. Like, that's awesome. Like, I'm not even tell your mom. I'm not even mad. I'm just impressed. I'm like, what if you used your powers for good instead of evil? And so at home, I'm typing a Word document for school, double space, 12 font. It looks great. And she's really talking to the voice she likes. They're always going to find some ways around it. And I want to show you some practical steps to help you navigate those things with it. The most dangerous app by far is Snapchat. The reason for it, until recently, there is no parental controls with Snapchat at all. Snapchat can share exact location. It shares pictures and images that get deleted, quote unquote. There's really no way to get around these. Now, Snapchat has taken a lot of flack from a lot of groups, including Congress. And so they have actually added these parental controls. However, your student can turn them on and off within the app. So there's no really parent control over it. It's you take their phone, you go in the app, you go into settings, you change the settings in a way. They can go in and change it right back. And you can get precise information on where they are. You can actually zoom in on this map. This is zoomed out. I wanted you to see some of the icons and avatars there. But you can zoom into precise locations of where kids are. And some things seem harmless. But they're going to take a selfie in their King's Academy uniform. It's going to say the King's Academy on their uniform. They're going to post it on a public story that anybody within a certain mile radius can see. And so now they have your student's face and where they go to school, what time they possibly arrive, and what time they leave. All from a selfie that's taken. So what can seem harmless can actually really give big information out. And one of the number one things that we're seeing on Snapchat is pornography and sexting through the app. Because they believe the picture will disappear after a couple seconds. In fact, the average age of first-time pornogaphy use is 11 years old. No child should be viewing those types of things on the internet or sending those types of things on the internet. A heartbreaking story that just recently happened. This is March 2022, so about a year ago. High school student, 17 years old, killed himself 6 hours after falling victim to online extortion plot. Teen paid $300 to Black Mirrors to stop releasing a naked picture of him, but then they demanded more cash. So what these online threats do is they will take a teenage girl's profile from Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. They will screenshot her pictures. They will then pose as that teenage girl, and they will go after any of these accounts that are public. So this 17-year-old thought he was Snapchatting a 17-year-old girl, and sometimes they'll even find people who he is friends with. I've had this happen at the church before. They'll find a profile of a follower that he follows, pretend to be a student at their school. And what happens is they engage in dialogue and conversation. He then sends a picture of himself. Then they reveal who they are. Hey, we're not actually this, we're this. And if you don't Venmo, Apple Pay some money, we're releasing that onto the whole internet. That's terrifying. And this 17-year-old who had the world ahead of him thought the only way to get out of it was to take his life, which is just tragic. So here are, the higher the teen screen time, here's what it can lead to. Again, these are statistics: isolation, insecurity, depression, and anxiety. That's right from the Barna research. That the more time a student is in front of a screen like this using those types of apps, the more likely they are to feel isolated, insecure, depressed, and anxiety. It is a muscle that we need to help them develop to say no. They would love to go to Publix and eat double stuffed Oreos every single night for dinner. I've done that too many times, okay? However, you know that is not healthy for them. The same way with a car. You would not just hand them the keys to a car. You're going to go, we're going to take our time. We're going to start learning on a book first. We're going to show you all the bad accidents that could happen. We're going to tell you that the gas is on the right, brake is on the, all that stuff you're going to go through there, right? And what some parents have done, again, I'm not here to shame or condemn you, is they've given the keys to a device that is so powerful with no skills or practicality behind it, and they haven't built up that muscle. Again, here's the research from Global Youth Report. They work with Barna Research with 10 plus hours a day. 70% more depressed, 75% high anxiety, 82% loneliness, 48% suicidal thoughts, 9% suicide attempts. This data is about 2 years old. The latest data that came from the CDC says the biggest threat to a teenage girl right now is suicide, based off social media. That it could be one of the #1 killers for a middle school girl at 13 years old. The rate of which ER visits over this last year for suicide attempts has doubled with teenage girls and has increased, not as much, but has increased for middle school boys as well. So what do you need to teach your students? Let's put some handles around this. Every post is public, every post is permanent. Every post is public, every post is permanent. Did you guys watch the Murdoch trial at all? Like, I was ingrained in it. I was like, what is going on? And then the Netflix documentary came out. I was like, whoa, this is insane. I love true crime documentaries like that. The reason he was found guilty is because the son who was killed had posted a Snapchat on his story that disappeared 10 seconds later. In the background of that story, you could hear his father's voice. The father said that he was out, wasn't even on the property at that time. However, the FBI and police, law enforcement, subpoenaed and got a warrant into Snapchat. They were able to pull back up the post, and within an hour, the jury found him guilty based off that Snapchat post. So it's important to know, even if you think it goes away, every post is public, every post is permanent. That's a key in telling your student that. Here are some non-negotiables here. You need to know passcodes to phones and passwords. It is not their phone. It is your phone on loan. It is your phone. You need to know their passcode. You need to know their passwords to every site that they're on. Even if it's Microsoft, even if it's for a school account, even if it's doing research. And you know what? Bible verses make the best passwords. Just the reference. Don't use John 3:16, that's too easy for hackers. But just do John 3:17, because you got a capital letter, you got the special character in there, a number, and some letters in there, all right? And you can set it all the same. We're going to pick a Bible verse that says, don't Snapchat anyone terrible. We won't find it in there. But you can pick a Bible verse, something where you can easily remember their password and passcodes. You need to know it. You need a centralized charging station for every device. I have some families, they say no phones upstairs. They live in a 2-story house. Bedrooms are upstairs, common areas down. No phones go upstairs. That's their rule. I love that rule. When these kids are going to get into trouble is when they have a device in their bedroom at night by themselves. Don't ever allow an iPad, a laptop, a tablet, a phone, whatever it may be, alone in a room with an elementary, middle, or high school student. Now, the first thing they're going to say is they're going to say, oh, Mom, Dad, how am I going to wake up? That's my alarm clock. And you pull up the Amazon app and you say, you can get whatever alarm clock you want. I'll buy it for you, as long as it's under $25, okay? Or you can get the emergency alert at 4:45 a.m. this morning and do that. So, poor guy. I mean, The governor tweeted that he's fired already. I'm like, imagine the whole state knowing you're fired and everyone's mad at you. Sorry, this is off topic. But a centralized charging station. So you can buy multiple ports, power strip on Amazon for super cheap. You put it in the kitchen, the living room, wherever it is. Overnight, you place their phones there. They can get the charge, place their tablets, their computers, whatever it is. But it's in your sight, in your control, so they're not taking it up to their room. You can filter internet content. This can be through your internet provider, AT&T, Xfinity, Comcast, Verizon. I know there's other, whatever one you have, they'll have internet filters available for you. Only add known people. Now, there are people who are going to pose as people they think they know. And it's your job as a parent to make sure that's really the case. I was with an 8th grade student, I think Monday after school. And he was talking with me about something. And he got a text from a number that wasn't saved in his phone. And it said, "Hey, grandson, I need your address to send you something." And he told me, he's like, "My grandpa just texted me saying he needs my address." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "He comes over to our house every weekend. They live 10 minutes away." I said, "That's not your grandpa." It read as a text that it would be from his grandpa. And so I was like, you need to block, delete, and tell your parents. He wanted to have some fun. I can't control him. He sent the address to Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office and said, "This isn't my address," and then blocked and delete. And I was like, okay, I can't be mad at you for that. I was like, but you need to let your parents know about this, right? And so again, you need to have those conversations with your students. Those conversations need to be constant and ongoing. Open and ongoing. Open and ongoing. Who are you friends list? Let me look through your list. Let me check with these other parents to make sure this is actually them. And so those open and ongoing conversations, the earlier they start, the better. You can start when they're super young. If you're a junior kindergartner, a kindergartner, first grade, you start those conversations early. You don't start the conversation of how to drive a car the day they turn 16 and they get the keys. You start it way before. The same needs to be true with technology, all right? So here's some guardrails. Balance, again, I'll post this for you so you can see it. Balance screen time and face time. I've had parents say, you need to go outside for 30 minutes and you can have 30 minutes of Xbox. Balance that out. No devices at bedtime. After 8 o'clock, we're a no phone house. And you can help set the example for that too. Say, I'm going to put my phone at the charging station as well. We're going to get ready for bed, get ready for the next day, whatever we need to do. Ongoing conversations. What information is and isn't appropriate to share online and with who. To think about others before themselves. And if someone is online approaching them inappropriately or threatening them, what to do. You need to let them know if somebody else is posting something that they're not going to get in trouble for somebody else's post. Just like we saw the Snapchat of the student who said, "I'm going to go shoot up my school." The students did the right thing, told their parents. They called police within an hour. All that process was resolved before the next school day. Have those open and conversations with that, all right? So should my kid have social media? It's not if, it's when. That's really the question. I would use the language that it's not bad, it's powerful. A car is not bad, but it is very powerful. It's not a phone, it's an everything. You got to realize for these, they don't know a world without this. I do. I grew up, mom was like, you home by the street lights are out. And I didn't have a phone running around the neighborhood with my friends the best of time. They don't know a world without that. Their first phone should be an old phone that you've had. Reason? So you know how to work it. That's why. When I have students, I'm a big Apple nerd. I have the iPhone 14 Pro. I'm on like the Apple cult plan where I get a new phone and I pay like an arm and a leg every year to get the new phone. When they walk in with the same phone as me, I get frightened. When a 6th grader, I'm like all excited. I'm like, the iPhone came out Friday. It's Monday. I'm like showing off my phone to my 6th graders. Look how cool Mr. Marlowe is. And they're like, oh, I got the same one, Mr. Marlowe. And the Apple Watch. Oh, and the new iPad too. I'm like, what is going on? Their old phone should be their first phone. Here's what I would recommend, because here's the question I get. When should they have it? I would say social media at 16 years old. Last year when I did this, I didn't give an age. However, with the changing times and what we're seeing, I would say at least 16 years old before they have any social media. TikTok, Instagram, any of that. Reasons why? Lawmakers are pushing to raise the minimum age to social media for 16. It's about time. This is a Republican and Democrat push. This article is for Fox News here. And for the other side of the aisle, I got one from CNN. All right, I'm not left wing or right wing. I'm the whole bird. Let's keep this thing afloat. Surgeon General says 13 is too early to join social media. So again, we're seeing Washington, D.C. is very slow and behind on the times. But when they're saying things, we as a community and you as parents raising your kids need to have that. So some practical advice to wrap up. I'm going to invite my friend Jared up. Have fun with it. Share a meme. Game together. Try to play a game of Fortnite with them if they're playing Fortnite. Learn some things. They will love to embarrass you and make fun of you. Have some group chats. Watch some shows together. Share some posts and videos with each other. My mom and I trade memes all the time and GIFs on there. And she's older and it's hilarious. And she's like, "Aren't you so proud of me for the GIF I sent?" I'm like, "Mom, it takes like 2 clicks, okay?" But I am. So here's some tools to help. I haven't used these, so I'm not endorsing them, but I just want you to know some resources that are out there. One to monitor your phone or internet is Bark. It's one of the leading edge technologies to help filter that content. Again, I'll put this on a site for you so you'll be able to pull that up. I haven't used it myself. However, it is a great resource to have. The other one is newer. It's Gab. This is a separate from your phone plan. However, it's basically dumb phones that look like smartphones. And so the kid doesn't have to feel embarrassed with the Nokia brick undestructible phone in their hands. It's going to look like an iPhone or an Android. However, no internet, no social media, no worries. And you can connect your contacts in there. So obviously if they got sports, something after school, you need to get in touch with them, or there's an emergency, they have a phone. But it's not going to have all the other stuff along with it. So some interesting resources there, all right? I want to welcome my friend Jared. Jared and I worked together at Christ Fellowship for a while, and he has a growing family, so a little girl and another one on the way. So buy him a cup of coffee after this and pray for him. But he's going to go into the video game aspect of this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Texting social media, or you don't consider that the same category? Texting would not be necessarily social media, but the same parameters apply. You want to guard their text with that.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Marlowe. Yes, as he said, I have a 16-month-old and another one on the way. So, I mean, that talk is going to be, by the time it applies to my kids, it's going to be so much different. That's just the crazy nature of the way that our world moves right now. Tonight I'm going to answer this question. Kind of. My name is Jared. I am the video game pastor. I started a ministry called Video Game Ministries, where we take the most popular games that I'm 99% sure all of your kids play and bring gospel influences into that, ultimately taking the concept of the way to talk to a child is get down and talk to them like this. And so their platform are these video games. And so that's what we do. We have a after-school program here using Minecraft, teaching the Bible there. It's been for the first year, it's been a great success and it's been a lot of fun. The kids love it. This is a very relative question, and really my goal is I just want to arm you with the information and understanding of a lot of these really popular video games so that you can make the best decision for yourself. So I was doing some research, especially thinking about the guy who was here last year who took probably the opposite perspective that I would, and doing some of this research, I find that it's ultimately inconclusive when it comes to answering this question. The NIH says, they did a study of nearly 2,000 children, found that those who reported playing video games for 3 hours per day or more performed better on cognitive skills tests involving impulse control and working memory than children who had never played video games. So how many of you really want your kid playing 3 hours of video games a day? Yeah, I wouldn't either, and I don't want to either, but it is interesting to see that there's actually some benefits that we can at least know about. There was a very, very thorough review done by a student at the University of South Carolina that was posted. His conclusion says video games have measurable effects physically and cognitively. Video games produce cognitive improvements, for example, visual attention processes, as well as physical changes, such as the brain areas responsible for processes in learning. However, video games also produce impairments that cause psychological deficits, for example, inhibition and decision-making skills from physical effects, prolonged stress mechanisms, and so on. He says as long as we approach video games in a holistic sense, we can design them to help them make us smarter and stronger while minimizing negative effects. I would take that and then say, well, we can use the ones that already exist for positive ways. Harvard Health posts an article that says this: the health effects of too much gaming. What's interesting is if you were to read the first paragraph of that article, it actually talks about the positive effects. It actually talks about the opportunities. So this is really where I've come to after research. Moderation is key. If you were to read any of these articles fully, and we have them posted for you all, every single time video games are mentioned in a negative sense, it's always an overuse, it's always an addiction, it's always too much gaming. There's always something that represents an excess. There's a website called GameQuitters.com that is dedicated for people who are addicted to video games. And one of the chief stories on there was Jose, a 16-year-old who played 16 hours of video games a day. Obviously, he's going to have a problem. Obviously, there's an issue there, right? And so, we all know moderation is key. Coffee is good. Too much coffee is bad, right? Oreos. I had a milkshake before this. Terrible idea, but a milkshake at another time, great idea, right? Water's good. Too much can actually wash out all the proteins in your body and you die, right? So really, what I want to do is I have this illustration of a playground, and I want to take video games and help you understand how they are a playground. This is actually a picture of my playground growing up. This is Riverview Park in Flushing, Michigan. Everything you see here, as an elementary kid, I climbed on. Everything. The things that you're not supposed to climb on, I was on them. Clinging for my life and then jumping down ridiculous heights, somehow not having knee issues at this moment. These red parts up here, been there. Been there. These, walking on one of these beams, been there, right? This is what I did. Oftentimes in the summer, because you couldn't go there in the snow, oftentimes in the summer, my mom would call up a couple of mutual friends and we would all go to the park and we would play, I guess now it's called The Floor is Lava, but it was just don't touch the wood chips and play tag. And again, climbing everywhere, but we would invite anyone who was on the playground to play with us. So oftentimes, my mom would see us playing with people that she didn't know, and she would kind of do one of those look around the park and say, okay, she's looking in the same direction. Okay, that's mom. Good to know. Maybe I make a conversation. Maybe invite him to church. Who knows? But ultimately, there were rules around the playground. And ultimately, truthfully, video games are another playground. Your playground growing up might have looked a little bit different. It might have looked like that. It might have been more like a soccer field or a basketball court or something along those lines. But ultimately, video games are the playground. So, video games are fun. Playgrounds are fun. That's why your kid wants to play them all the time. They want to have fun all the time. So the complaint that would be, why does my kid play so much video games? Well, it's because they want to have fun all the time. And their friends in a video game, people adventure and they explore, they're challenged, they're rewarded, they win, they lose, they compete, they create, they destroy, and so much more. Same thing as the playground. There's a lot of that playground that's pretty dangerous. But I explored it and I you know, I'm still all right. We adventured all over that playground. We explored. We found out that I'm pretty sure the yellow jacket population of Flushing, Michigan was right there, right? I mean, so many bees there, and I'm allergic. Somehow I am not dead playing at Riverview Park here. But everything that we did, video games are the same way. You can go on these grand adventures. You can explore. You can create. You can build the most incredible things in Minecraft. You can strategize in Fortnite. There are so many positives in that way. But I would say that too much time on a playground is a bad thing. I mean, as your arms get tired and you're hanging from places you shouldn't, you're more likely to fall and hurt yourself. Too much time in the sun, heat exhaustion, dehydration. There are certain things that if you are too young, you should not be there. And the same applies to different video games. There are games that are not for your kids, and you should not let them play. For example, Grand Theft Auto. I hope you all know that, but I'm just going to say it. That game is from the enemy. Okay, so let's just go ahead and break that disc right now or delete that from the Xbox forever. That one needs to go. That's not for anyone. But there are games out there that, like, hey, if you're a 17, 18-year-old boy and you are a man's man, you like shooting guns, hey, Call of Duty. In the right context, it can be an okay decision for your family. But for you, my friend, who's laughing because I said Call of Duty, you're a little too young, buddy. Sorry. I'll go ahead and make that one. But in the same way that growing up playing soccer, when I first played soccer, I had that little like size 3 ball, and then it got bigger and bigger. Well, that's because I was too small to kick the size 5 ball more than 5 feet. Same thing for video games. So, if it applies to a playground, it applies to video games. So, all sorts of different video games. This is just my example of kids having fun playing video games. This is actually this is right over there. This is our club here. All the kids are, and I always like pointing out the fact that they bring all of their different stuffed animals and plushies. Not stuffies. I think I said stuffies, and I was like, that's really wrong. Plushies. Just a sign of fun. A couple events that we did with the ministry. Ultimately, video games are fun. And video games are, when talking about the rating system, make sure that they fit within your family's values. I'd happily share my opinions, but ultimately, every video game is different. Every family has different values about the video games, their opinions, and so on. But ultimately, just look into that stuff. If it applies to the playground, it applies to video games. Secondly, in the same way that playgrounds build community, so do video games. So when I go to a playground, this is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for no one. Because I have a 16-month-old, and the last thing that I want is for a 10-year-old reckless young boy to run over my sweet, precious 16-month-old Callie. But when my wife and we drop our daughter off at her kids' ministry, and every time we go to pick her up, we're peeking around the corner, like hoping she doesn't see us, because she's probably way too attached to us at this point already. But we're peeking around to see how she's socializing, again, within her age range, the walkers, right? She's a walker right now. So we want her to be in that community, even though it's people that we don't know, but it's an environment that we trust. We want to see that, and because that's a good spot for her. That's really not the greatest spot for her unless it's alone. But if you're going to a playground, you're taking kids to a playground, an empty playground is a really boring playground. It's not fun at all. And so you're hoping for more people. So when you go to a playground, you're watching your child. Your child is within earshot or eyesight. And you're looking around, and like I said about my mom earlier, you're looking for Okay, she's playing with him. Okay, I know him. We invited them, but who's that kid? You're going around, you're looking, you're checking, you're double checking, you're meeting families and all of that. That's the park, that's the playground. So when your kids are playing video games, Mr. Marlowe said it phenomenally. They should be in sight. There shouldn't be a closed door. You should know who they're playing with. So when you see Minor Jaguar, you should know exactly who that is. You should know that's Joel. He goes to school. If you see Kingy Poo, you should know exactly who that is. Their names are different, which makes it challenging, but that's just the extra research that we got to go into as parents. We got to know who these kids are. Because oftentimes what happens is Kingy Poo is Kanan in real life. Kanan could invite his cousin, and you see someone else show up, and you're like, wait, who is this person? Ask. And if you know who Kanan is, well, then you can probably text mom, right? Hey, who is so-and-so? Oh, it's Kanan's cousin. He's from Alabama, whatever. And you know, now he makes a great friend. He makes a new friend. That's a phenomenal part about video games are these communities. A lot of our ministry, like we have a lot of different clubs, but we also have a YouTube presence, Video Game Ministries on YouTube. It was just hearing a story that apparently your daughter has connected with us and heard us praying for someone, which was like, whoa, that's happening on YouTube. There's a kid in our ministry who is named Cade. He's the son of a friend of mine, and he's been a staple part of the ministry. One day we're live on YouTube playing Fortnite, and Honor_04 shows up. Hey man, what's going on? Types in the chat. I respond, nothing. Hey, we're just playing Fortnite. Would love if you join. He joined in. Next thing you know, he's a part of every stream. Honor is from Michigan, and I'm from Michigan, but there are no paths that have been crossed. I don't know who Honor is. I think his name's Joshua. He's now a part of every single live stream, and he's also now very good friends with Caden, all because of a video game. My friend's other son, Gray, now has a competitive Fortnite partner who lives a couple hours away. Never would have met before, but all done through a video game. There are so many positive communities that form because of video games, and that's what we're really trying to do with Video Game Ministries, is make sure that there's a safe, positive Christian community. So this is one of our Minecraft clubs that we hosted online. So I don't know if you can see, but each one of these little dots is a different person who actually happens to be from the school, and this is called the Faith Course. We were talking about faith and doing an obstacle course. This is the opportunity that video games can present to the right person, right? An opportunity to learn about faith, to learn about perseverance through Minecraft. This, a bunch of different people from the ministry. This is a playground. Right? That's a playground. That looks more like a playground, but this is also a playground. This is 10 different people all in one lobby, all of us having the opportunity to play with each other in different... This is the normal mode. There are a million different modes in Fortnite that you can play and hang out. All of these people talking, all these people connecting. It's a playground. And I really want to normalize that, because it's a very obscure playground. It's not how we grew up. But it is a digital version, but it is the same thing. Finally, and this one, man, I could talk forever on this one for sure, but video games are important. Video games are important to kids. They represent a form of social currency. So for me growing up, I played soccer, and if I could, juggle the ball 10 times, I'd go to my friends who played soccer and said, I can juggle the ball 10 times. And then Tyler would be like, I can do 15. Oh, man. All right. So I'd go home and I'd practice. I get 15. Tyler's like, got 20. It's like, well, can you do a rainbow? Oh, no, I can't do a rainbow. He was way too tall. He was like 6'4" as a fourth grader. So he couldn't get it over his head, right? That's the ball. Anyway, I digress. Playground. Wasn't it like the most awesome thing when you could do the monkey bars finally? Just go across and then back, and your hands aren't slipping. You're like, yeah, I finally have the grip strength to do the monkey bars just like Joey or whatever. Throw a tight spiral. I still can't. I get the joke that every time I throw the ball, my dad goes, "Hey, Jared, nice kick." Ah, got me again, Dad. Saying that one since 3rd grade. Still hurts. But there are so many things that we grew up with that social currency. Remember wearing your first pair of Nikes or Adidas or something that mattered to you. You wore that to school and you were looking for those compliments. You were looking for people to look down at you and say, "Nice shoes." And you're like, "Oh, I forgot I was wearing them. Thanks." Right? These are all social currencies, right? They look different for us now these days as adults, but these things matter to kids as well. So, for example, a kid will go to school. This is another King's Academy student who built that in Minecraft. It's a space station that's above. He can't fly in this mode, by the way. He had to somehow build his way up, build a platform out without falling down and dying, and then build from the, and every single one of these blocks, they're not easy to just find, okay? In case you ever wanted to know. This is insanely complex. And what he's gonna do, he's gonna take a screenshot of that and show his friends at school. He's gonna say, "Look what I built. Come join the server later so I can show you." This kid actually texts me all the time saying, "Hey, built something new." This is in our YouTube Minecraft server that we have, which all your kids can join. We can talk about that later. But he says, "Hey, Jared, go check out what I built." He's so excited about that. That means the world to him. This is another one. This is in the this was in the item shop in Fortnite. This is digital currency that unfortunately you can't get back when you change your real money to what's called V-Bucks. How many of you have spent way too much money in V-Bucks? I'll raise my hand to that. This girl right here. There's so much attached to the Aura skin in Fortnite. And this applies to Valorant, this applies to Call of Duty, this applies to a lot of different games. But that skin, spending 800, 900 V-Bucks, which is, I don't know, $5, $6, having that skin means you are what's called a sweat. Anyone know what a sweat means? A sweat means that, or the concept would be, I play video games so hard and aggressively that my hands start sweating. It's ultimately a derogatory way of saying you're good at the game. If someone called me a sweat, I take it as a compliment because I'm like, "Great, you actually think I'm good at the game? I'm 32. There's no way I'm that good at the game, but I'll take it." But kids say that like they make fun of them. Or another way would say it would be like, you got to go touch grass. Have you heard that one? You got to go touch grass because you spend too much time on video games. Could be true if you're that good at the game at that age. But that skin, when you wear that skin, that means that I'm going to sweat and I'm going to play so hard and I want to win. I'm going to play competitively. Where there are other skins, they're not pictured, but there are other ones like a bunny or a dinosaur or Darth Vader that are like, "I'm just playing for fun. I'm hanging out. No big deal." There are skins that came out 6 years ago that you can never get again. And if you have one of those, you're like, retro Fortnite. You are so cool if you have that skin. These are all meaningful, important things to kids. Aura presents no competitive advantage. You are not better automatically because you spent $8 on a free game. You're not. There are skins that might help you blend in a little bit better, but ultimately it's minuscule, the difference that it makes. But it means the world. And so it matters. It's weird to say, but it matters. And so if this is important to a child, then us as parents, it really should be important to us. Overall, and we'll open up the floor to questions in a moment, but overall, kids want to play video games because they want to have fun. They want to hang out with their friends in an engaging, fun community, and they are massively important to them. They represent a social currency that a lot of us may never understand, but we can at least trust if it's important to them, it's important to us. We're going to answer some questions. I'll also be around if you want to hear more about video game ministries. We have some fun camps coming up this summer, digital at-home camps that are talking about Christian character and leadership lessons. So we'd love to be available. But
Yeah, one thing before we get to maybe some Q&A is you did have a handout like this when you came in. You can go ahead and pull out your phone and actually scan the QR code. If you need help with that, Allison or Adam will help you with that. I'm actually going to pull it up here on my computer as well.
QR code because we're the tech guys.
Yeah, what's sad is it took me a long time to figure out how to create it for free. Every site was like, this is $10,000. I'm like, no. So what it's going to do is it's actually going to give you over to what's called a link tree, which just is a fancy term for a lot of links that are put together, not that one, for some resources with you. So if you were to invite me over and cook me a nice steak dinner with baked potatoes, some asparagus like that, and I could sit down and talk with you one-on-one about your individual child or student or the things that they're interested in, here's where I would point you to. So when you open that up and scan it, it's going to take you to a page that looks just like this. So if your student or older students even have an iPhone, there's how to put the parental controls in there. They have an Android right there. If they're using the latest social media apps and you want to find out more, what are they doing? What is this Be Real? What is Snapchat? I thought TikToks were the little mints that you take. What is going on? There's that available for you. There's step-by-step app guides. So if you want to know how to turn off the location sharing and those types of things, or the ins and out of a certain app, that's on there. And then there's also a parent guide to video games and certain media. So Fortnite, Call of Duty, some of these Minecraft, some of these really popular video games that are coming out. And then I also just put some blogs and resources on there. I'm going to put the PowerPoint presentation that we did today on there a little bit later, so you'll have that. It'll be available. It'll be up for the whole year, so you can look at that and just browse through some things. Probably the greatest resource that I could recommend is what's called Access. It's a free site for parents to use that talk about almost any topic you could think of. Social media. They have a culture translator. If your kid is if they said like, what's the cool term now? Like, this food's bussin'? I feel like that's too old.
Bussin'.
Like, they have a culture translator. So when your kids are using words, you're like, what does that mean? Or that's cap, no cap. Your kid, I think, is that
cap and no cap?
I've been spending too much time with high school students. You can find out. Sometimes I go on there, I'm like, what are they saying? And they provide all of it from a biblical perspective, which is super cool. So if you don't even know what questions to ask, they got some conversation starters in there. So that's just one great resource that's free for parents for it. And that's right on the Linktree or access.org. You can click right into there and you can see some of the topics: mental health, Christianity, gender identity, cultural issues, social media. Again, all from a biblical Christian worldview, which is just a fantastic resource. They've done a really good job. All right. Any questions that we can help answer for you that you might have?
So things are changing so quickly. Is this thing updated on a regular basis?
So yeah, what's great about this is depending on what device they have will depend on how it's updated. So Apple keeps everything consistent with their platforms. So every iPhone operates on the same type of platform. So their site will update as they update. So when you click into Apple, it will already be updated for you. Apple does a great job at parental controls. I don't get paid to say that. I love Apple. But they do a great job because it's uniform and the same. And whether you have an iPad, a Mac, or an iPhone, you can connect them all together to have those same controls. Android is different because different companies take different platforms. So they're not as quick to update their information. I put the direct link from Google and Android to do that. And if it changes, I can put that up there to do it. But these websites will update as more apps come out.
So this is actually put out by you, this Linktree.
This Linktree I made of other companies and resources that update it. So like if you're having trouble with Apple, you can click the Apple link. It literally takes you to the Apple website on how to put the screen time parental controls on there. If you want the step-by-step app guides, that's from Internet Matters. It's a government site, and they're going to have all the social media apps step-by-step on there. And as apps are added, they add them. They're slightly delayed because you can never be on the cusp of new, but the most popular ones, Snapchat, TikTok, are going to be on there for you. Great question. Yes, ma'am.
What is ChatGPT?
What is ChatGPT? So think of it as Google on steroids. It is an AI, artificial intelligence, that is learning as you are typing in questions about what you are wanting and what you are asking. So here's something super cool. Don't tell my boss this, but here's what I did. I needed like 2 more test questions to make the points even. So I put my curriculum into ChatGPT and I said, can you give me a high school level test, 10 questions, multiple choice? And within 10 seconds, it came up with a high school level test based off my Bible content curriculum. So it's learning the curriculum fast, it's learning the content fast, and you can do it. You can ask it, I need a 500-page, or not 500, but 500-word essay on the Civil War for a middle school level. And it will automatically come out, put that for you within 10 seconds. It's one of those AIs. It's becoming very popular with students because it's a shortcut to papers.
Yeah, I have a senior here.
Yeah, it is.
That's got a huge thing.
Right. So we as a school, we've talked about that in our department meeting today. It is considered academic dishonesty, but we're also trying to find a way of what good can it do. So, for example, I had to write a paper for my teacher certification through the state, and it was a 5-page paper I wrote. But I actually sent it through ChatGPT and I said, can you grade it on a college level? And within 10 seconds, it gave me real-time feedback on what to change or what to add to make my paper better. In the same way you would use spell check or Grammarly, it was helping find mistakes so that I could be a better writer.
So it's a website.
It is a website that you need a login for, but it's very easy and free and open to the public. They're trying right now to put in your medical history into it, and it will diagnose you within 10 seconds, and it's becoming just as accurate as a doctor visit. So in the future, you might not actually see a doctor. You might just go to an AI website for health, put in all your symptoms, your whole health history, and within 10 seconds, they could have an accurate depiction on what needs to be done. It's terrifying and awesome at the same time. You can put a recording of a Zoom meeting. It will take all the notes for you. It will tell you the next steps or the tasks for each individual person, and it could email it out to them of their next steps of a 30-minute meeting. So you don't even have to take notes in a meeting anymore. It will do it all for you. So again, terrifying and awesome all at the same time. It's a great question.
It's Avengers: Age of Ultron.
And is it free, you said?
The site ChatGPT is free, and it's being updated constantly. The latest from Congress is split. Because the makers of some of this want to put a slowdown on it. Those are the good guys, but there's bad guys who have access to this program too. So if foreign enemies that the United States have are advancing it, or then other threats within the dark web are advancing it, and the good guys aren't advancing it, what's the balance there? Again, technology outpaces our ability to civilize it. We won't know the consequences of what MySpace or Facebook did until years later of depression, suicide, anxiety that social media is causing, which the social media age is 13, and that's why they're trying to bump it up to 16. But it's taken a decade to catch up with it. But it is free and easy for students to get on.
I have a question following back to our video games, away from our AI counterparts. Jared, you mentioned Fortnite, and we talked a little bit about the anonymity, meeting other people who, it's really important to do these connections and stuff. What are some ways we can help protect, maybe not our 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds, but more worried about these 12, 13-year-old groups who, want to play these games that are extremely interesting and fun, but if most parents get to the game, they're probably proud of themselves and going to say, go ahead, child, I am happy I made it this far. Could we please, because a lot of times, some of us might come from the days where you had to build your own computer and then actually install the game, and then it actually crashes the whole computer.
Right.
You have to turn it all off, do a CMOS clear. A lot of us don't know what a CMOS clear is.
Right.
So it gets kind of hard when you're just proud that you got to the game. So are there is this nuanced game per game? You also mentioned your Minecraft server.
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak to the importance of having a dedicated server a little bit?
Right. Okay, so ultimately looking to find ways to make a video game private or monitored for maybe a little bit of an older age, and then speaking to a private Minecraft server, right? Does that kind of give it? Okay. So unfortunately, you kind of answered a little bit of it. Every single game is nuanced, right? Fortnite, it's going to have its different parental controls, and they're there and they're great and they work. And then Call of Duty is going to have their own. But the nice thing is a lot of the interfaces, they all start to look the same and feel the same and do the same. And so really the best advice, and one thing I'm going to do, and I'll throw this on the website as well, is I will put your Xbox, this is what your normal Xbox login looks like. This is what your normal PlayStation PC login. Any video game question tonight, I'm going to take a mental note and have some of my team help to write more comprehensive answers for you. But it is nuanced and different for every game. And so there's a level of know the game that your kids are playing. So one, know if it is a connect. There are games out there that are one-player games. They're adventure games. Those are great. Go on and play those. Ask me about what I would think as a pastor of this game. I know Plugged In Online is another opportunity, another place to check out some of these games. But ultimately, every game is going to look different. Your example of the car keys is brilliant. You are handing a child, or if you're downloading Fortnite, you are downloading a way for them to connect with people that they've never met before. Right? You can play Fortnite, you can play Call of Duty, and you can click random. If I'm playing duos, 2 people, I can click fill. So I go in, I get paired up with someone in a central to eastern time zone. So from Texas to New York, I can get paired with anyone. I, as a 32-year-old man, have played with kids that I'm telling you sound younger than 7, because and are from, based on their accent, kind of Southern. And I'm like, I'm very uncomfortable with that. I kind of wanted to try it and had this thought, well, maybe there's a missionary take that I can, but I don't do that. That's strange. That's weird, right? Because think of it in reverse. If you have a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, they could be pairing up with me. That's weird, right? So I think knowing all of those, every little thing that you can know about that game, don't hand those keys over without knowing how to work the vehicle. It's a phenomenal example, and it applies to video games. And so if you don't know, don't give them the keys. Do every bit of research that you can, and then work on it. And then at the same time, don't let them in a locked room. Don't shut the door. Don't. I mean, it's just your child's life is so much more important than to let them play a video game like that with a closed door. As for the Minecraft server, one thing that I have the ability to do is you've got the server, the front-facing game, and then there is a back-end side of it that I can see all of the activity that goes on. So I can choose to let people in and take people out. So that's how a Minecraft server can be a lot safer. So I think that answers a little bit of your question.
Well, I know we all woke up to 4:45 this morning.
Holy moly.
I thought it was a tornado or a Chinese spy balloon. I didn't know which one. I was like, I don't know which one's worse. I think we all learned that if we're in trouble at 4:45 in the morning, I'm just going to stay in bed. I'm like, that's what I learned. But again, these resources are going to be available for you. I think the biggest takeaway is it's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
It's not if, it's when. It's not if someone from outside is going to try to add your kid. It's not if they're going to get social media. It's not if they're going to get a phone. It's when. And those open and ongoing conversations, the earlier the start, the better. These resources are going to be available for you. They go right to the direct, right to Apple, right to Android, right to the step-by-step guides. I'm going to add the PowerPoint on there tomorrow, so you can go on there and see all the slides in case you miss something. Our contact information will be on there. So he's the video game master, so you can contact him, or if you have a question about a video game. Myself, I'm a teacher here at TK, so if you come see me or your kid knows me, hopefully they're saying good things about me, and I owe them a Starburst if they do. But please feel free to reach out, because I know you're probably going to drive home tonight and be like, oh man, I should have asked that. All right? Let me pray for you.
The contact information will be on the link tree.
Yeah, on the link tree. So you can save this piece of paper or take a picture of it, so you'll always have the QR code. Mrs. Cruz can send an email out with that link as well to you all, so those resources you have. But let me pray for you guys, and then we'll let you go. We'll be around for some questions if you need it. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the entrusted sacred responsibility we have to care for this next generation. Lord, I'm not worried. I'm excited to see what you're going to do. The innovation, the technology, the cures, the medicine, the advancements that this next generation is going to make. But Lord, I pray that you would give us wisdom to steward it well, to put the right guardrails up and parameters so we don't become so high-tech we forget how to be human. Lord, we are made in your image to be like you, to be created in community, to be created, to be loved by you and for your purpose. And so I pray for each parent in here that you would just give them the wisdom and knowledge to know what to do and what to say, and not be afraid to ask for help. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you guys so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
We'll be around for questions.